Chapter 91. About 45 seconds after I left the palace, I heard a massive explosion that was strong enough to shatter the glass of every building in a half-mile radius and make my ears ring for over a minute. I couldn't even hear myself think because of how loud the ringing was. My ears sounded like the beginning of time by Pink Floyd at that moment. Talk about killing two birds with one stone. As I walked back towards Audrey's house, I suddenly lost my balance and fell down onto the cold pavement face first, hitting my head on the ground. I'm not sure what made me fall, but I suddenly felt fatigued and drained of all of my strength. If you thought that was crazy, wait until you hear about what happened next. Lying there on the ground with a throbbing head, I realized I couldn't open my eyes as if someone had glued my eyelids shut. This was enough to send me into a panic, but was nothing compared to what I hallucinated inside my eyelids. I saw my brain being torn apart into millions of pieces and genuinely felt a sharp pain inside my head. This was followed by feeling like I was falling down a hole at terminal velocity. I genuinely thought that I was dying at that moment. I also felt terribly dehydrated, as if I had not drunk water in 2 days. I hallucinated a female voice saying, "Hot as a hare, red as a beet, dry as a bone, blind as a bat, and mad as a hatter," before laughing at me hysterically. I still do not know what she meant to this day, but it clearly wasn't anything good. I must have laid there for 5 minutes before I could open my eyes and stand up. Right away, walking felt wrong, and not in the sense that gravity was turned up. This time, it felt as if someone was constantly pulling me back by my arms. Reality was playing tug-of-war with me, and needless to say, I didn't enjoy it very much. I stumbled for about half a mile, nearly falling down every step of the way before finally arriving at Audrey's house. I was surprised that I had made it that far. I knocked on her door and fell down again, physically unable to move. My head was spinning at about 800 miles an hour, and I kept seeing insects crawling all over me again. I felt like I had died and gone to hell at that moment. In my thoughts, I said goodbye to my parents and actually prayed for God to save me, even though I'm agnostic. I'm just scared of the idea of there being nothing after death. It sounds terrible to even think about. Oh, my goodness. Audrey yelled out as she opened her door and found me lying there on the ground. I felt like my body weighed 1,000 pounds and didn't even have the strength to move my fingers. "I can't move," I almost whispered. "Hold on," she said as she dragged me into her house. I had lost all feeling in my limbs at that moment, as if they had injected me with Novocaine, and felt my head spin around like a merry-go-round. Once she put me on the couch, she felt my forehead and told me I had hypothermia. I barely understood what she was saying because of how delirious I was. I didn't even know what my name was at that moment. The strangest thing happened to me as I closed my eyes. I could still see the room, which I found confusing. I could hardly tell that I had closed them at all. The entire experience was like playing a video game inside my head. As I looked around the room, the surrounding scenery melted like hot wax, and I found myself lying outside the entrance to my old school. It had the eeriest vibe. It was as if I had some sort of negative memory associated with it. I decided to explore it out of thrill-seeking. "You're in high school again,"